Hi learners, in this video I'm going to talk about the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. The Consumer Protection Act of 1986 was enacted on 15th of April with the primary objective of protecting the interests of the consumers. This act seeks to protect the consumers from all forms of exploitation by the manufacturers. So basically, the Consumer Protection Act aims at protecting the consumers from unfair and restrictive trade practices, which could be resorted by the manufacturers as well as traders. Now, the Consumer Protection Act applies to the whole of India, and some of the salient features of this act is that it applies to all kinds of goods and services which are manufactured or rent services. In the case of services, services rendered by all sectors, that is, whether they are private sector, public sector, or cooperative sector. Further, the provisions of the Act are compensatory in nature, which means that if there is any exploitation of the consumer, then the provisions of the Consumer Protection Act enable the consumer to claim compensation for the loss suffered from the producers or the wholesalers or the traders due to whom the consumer has suffered a loss. Further, the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 has conferred various rights on the consumers in order to protect their interests and to prevent them from exploitation. So, some of the rights are the right to basic needs. Basic needs of any human being refers to the needs such as food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, and education. So, the government must make sure that these basic needs or services are provided to the consumers at affordable prices and reasonable levels of standards of quality are maintained when the products and services which satisfy these basic needs are rendered to the consumers. The second right of the consumers is right to safety, which means that the consumers have the right to be protected against products and services which are hazardous to their health and life. The next is the right to be informed. See, generally, when the consumers have to make purchases, different alternatives are available from where the consumers can choose. So, while making the choice, the consumers must be given access to all the necessary facts and information so that they can make a wise choice. And therefore, not the facts also which are provided to the consumers must be must be given in an honest way, and there must not be any misleading advertisements shown to the customers in order to communicate wrong information. Next is the right to be heard, right to choose. So, right to choose means the customers should have access to a variety of products and services at competitive prices. And in case of an monopoly situation, monopoly is economic or market situation where there is a single seller. Then, in that case, the consumers have the right to have assurance of satisfactory quality and service at a reasonable price. The next thing is right to be heard. Now, right to be heard means the consumers who could be any person, organization, or even it could be business and the government have the right to voice the opinion of the consumers, and this right has been represented during the formulation and execution of even the economic policy of the country. The next is right to seek redressal. In case the consumer has suffered any any loss or harmful effects due to the usage of certain products or after availing certain services, then in such cases the consumers have the right to be compensated or receive compensation. Next, right to consumer education. Right to consumer education means the consumers have the right to acquire knowledge and skill to become an enlightened consumer. And lastly, right to healthy environment. Right to healthy environment means the consumers have the right to seek protection against any misrepresentation or false claim which is presented to the consumer and over which the consumer has no control, and but nevertheless the consumer falls as a victim. So these are some of the rights of the consumers. Now let's look into some of the definitions under the Act. The first definition is the definition of a consumer. As per the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, a consumer is any person who purchases the goods or avails the services for their own consumption. So generally, if a person purchases the goods not for their own use but for the purpose of resale, then such a person cannot be called as a consumer under the Consumer Protection Act. A person has to purchase the commodities and avail the services for themselves, only then they can be called as a consumer. The next definition is that of a dispute. A dispute arises when there is a disagreement or between a consumer and the service, or when the consumer is not satisfied with the certain the products which is provided by the manufacturer. Then a dispute arises. Further, deficiency actually means any fault or imperfection or shortcomings, or whether in the quality, quantity, or the manner in which the service is rendered. So any defect in the quality and quantity of the product or in the way in which the service is rendered is called as a deficiency. Like let's take the example, a person has purchased a refrigerator, and after purchasing within a week the refrigerator breaks down or it is not functioning properly, then in that case it means that the product is suffering from certain deficiency. So in such cases again, the consumer can claim compensation from the manufacturer. Next, moving on to restrictive trade practices. Restrictive trade practices refers to those practices where restrictions are placed on the consumer regarding their buying decisions. Like supposing if a consumer wants a product, the consumer is forced to buy the other product. So these are examples of restrictive trade practices. Like supposing if a person wants to buy a car, but before purchase of the car, the consumer is forced to take buy a two-wheeler from the same company, then such instances can be called as restrictive trade practices. Unfair trade practices refers to those practices where misrepresentation is made to the consumer regarding the products or the services, or where the products of good quality are not offered to the consumers. Some examples of unfair trade practices resorted to by manufacturers are example of hoarding. Hoarding actually refers to the policy of purposely stocking up certain commodities so that there is a artificial scarcity created in the market. So when there is scarcity of goods or when the supply of goods is less, we've studied in economics, right, that when the supply is less, the prices tend to increase. So in the case of hoarding, artificial scarcity of commodities is created, and once the prices rise, then the products are released in the market. This is an example of hoarding. Next, we have when we have other unfair trade practices like black marketing. Black marketing is the sale of goods without genuine bills, without paying the tax on the goods or with the tax on the services which are rendered. Then further, there are other unfair trade practices like adulteration, food adulteration, that is mixings of grains, pebbles and all in grains. So any such practices, where the consumers are cheated or there is misrepresentation of facts is called as unfair trade practices. Now, under the Consumer Protection Act, a complaint can be filed in case of any, in case of any dispute by any of these parties. That it could be either a single consumer filing a complaint, or a group of consumers together can also file a complaint. Sometimes a complaint can be also filed by some voluntary consumer association on behalf of the consumers. Further, the central or the state government can also file a complaint on behalf of the consumers. And in the case of death of the consumer, the legal heir of the legal representative can file. Like supposing Mr. A has died, then in that case the legal heir, which could be either the spouse of Mr. A or the children of Mr. A, can file a complaint. Complaint can be should be given in writing by any of the parties which I just mentioned to any of the following authorities. It could be either the District Consumer Disputes Redressal Forum if the value of the claim or if the compensation which is sought for the loss is less than 20 lakhs by the consumer. Next, if the value of the compensation exceeds 20 lakhs but is within 1 crore, then such a complaint must be addressed to the State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. And if the value of the complaint exceeds 1 crore, then the complaint should be made to the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. Further, under the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, various grounds on which the complaint can be filed are also mentioned. Like some of the grounds on which a complaint can be filed are an unfair trade practice or a restrictive trade practice, if it is adopted by any trader or a service provider. Like example, Mr. A has sold a vehicle to Mr. A has sold a television to Mr. B, and representing it to be a new one. Where in such cases, here B can file a complaint against A for adopting, like Mr. A, when they are selling the goods to Mr. B. Maybe Mr. A has sold a second-hand electronic device, but then it has been communicated to the Mr. B that it is a first-hand device. In such cases, B can file a complaint against Mr. A for adopting an unfair trade practice. Then further again, if the goods, if Mr. C has sold goods to Mr. D and Mr. C doesn't give the value of the goods for which it is sold, if Mr. C doesn't give a genuine bill, in that case again Mr. D can file a complaint. So the next ground on which a complaint can be filed is when the goods which are bought by the consumer suffer from one or more defects. Like maybe a television set has been bought by Mr. A, and after within 1 month, the television set is not functioning properly. Then in such case, the Mr. A can claim compensation from the manufacturer for the not improper functioning of the device. The next ground on which complaint can be made is when the services hired or availed are suffer from a deficiency in any respect. Like supposing Mr. Pratik has booked a taxi for going to the airport, and the taxi driver is scheduled to come within half an hour. But due to various reasons, the taxi driver doesn't turn up in half an hour, but comes after almost 1 hour. And because of this, if Mr. Pratik reaches the airport late and misses the flight, in such case again Mr. Pratik can claim compensation from the taxi driver. Next is the compensation can also be made, complaint can also be made if the excess price has been charged for the goods or for the services. Like generally when we travel in an auto rickshaw, we generally find that the driver charges an excess fare. In such cases, again, the complaint can be made when the driver is charging an excess fare. And next, complaints can also be filed in case of goods which will be hazardous to life and property when used, are being offered for sale to the public in contravention with any of the standards relating to safety. Like supposing Mr. C purchases a disinfectant powder for Mr. A, and Mr. A doesn't give clear instructions to Mr. C regarding the manner in which the tin has to be opened, and because of that, Mr. C opens the tin in a normal way, and due to that, if the disinfectant powder flies into the eyes of Mr. C and has caused an injury, in such case again Mr. C can make a complaint against Mr. A. So these are the different instances or the grounds on which a complaint can be filed. Further, in order to promote the interest of the consumers and in order to impart information to the consumers regarding their rights, under the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, consumer protection councils are established at the district level, central level, and at the state level. Generally, the minister in charge of consumer affairs at the center becomes the chairman of the Central Consumer Protection Council. Again, in the case of State Consumer Protection Council, is again headed by the minister in charge of consumer affairs at the state level. And generally, the collector of the district is heads the district consumer protection councils. And these councils are advisory in the nature, in the sense that whenever the government wants to make any amendments, that is changes in the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, then the opinion of all these councils or the advisors from all these councils are solicited in order to make the necessary changes. Further, in order to resolve the grievances or complaints of the consumers, a three-tier system is adopted under the Consumer Protection Act. We have the district forums, the state commissions, as well as the national commissions, which are set up in order to resolve the grievances. District forums generally resolve grievances or complaints where the compensation seeked is less than 20 lakhs. And in the case of the state commissions, they resort to grievances, help in resolving grievances where the compensation claimed is between 20 lakhs and not exceeding 1 crore. And the national commissions resort to help in resolving grievances where the compensation claimed is more than 1 crore. Generally, all these commissions consist of a president and some members who help in resorting of these grievances. So these were basically some of the highlights of the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. However, the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 has been recently amended in the year 2019, and we have a new act which is the Consumer Protection Act of 2019.